Welcome to the StockMentor.com studios here in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm your stock mentor, Brian Johnson, making professional trading simple. And stocks decide they're going to move up today. Apparently, Greece was the reason. Greece is the word, if you've heard. And we had a move up and over this overhead resistance here. We had a break of the 20, the 50, this overhead resistance, and this overhead channel line we've been watching. So, strong move. Got to hand it to the bulls for getting up and over all of this overhead resistance. So we'll see if they can hold coming into tomorrow. But we had been expecting a move. Said that we had a couple consolidation days the last couple days. A move was on the horizon, had to happen. We weren't sure when. I was kind of hoping it would happen today, so we had something to do, and sure enough, we got it. So very clear from the very get-go of the day. It took about, an hour or so of trading before things really set up well. And then after that, we hit a beautiful, for all you Ellioticians, a beautiful three-wave up. And we're able to hop in on that and ride that up for some profits today. You can see one big candle, the rest of them, even though they are up, very, very, very tiny, small little candles. So would not be surprised, I'll tell you now, to see maybe a pullback that might come back and retest this area. Very common that once you break it, comes back and retests it at some point. So we'll see if that happens tomorrow. And maybe not. Maybe it just continues to run up from here. So if you stayed long overnight, little bit on the risky side, but it could pay off for you in the morning. My next area is, of course, 10,250 and ultimately 10,300 on the Dow for your overhead areas now for targets and or to get back in. If you're going to get into this market now on a daily, we have broken this overhead resistance, which was indicative of what we saw on the 60-minute as well. So that's good. Love to see confirmation like that. But over 10,250 is probably the more safe place to be getting long. Ultimately, 10,300 really is where you want to wait to get over if you're not in now and are going to hold for a while. Keep in mind, 3-day weekend. Might not want to be holding over the weekend. Who knows what will happen in those 3 days. But keep in mind that if you stayed long overnight, this would be my first profit target, 10,200 or 10,250. NDX on a 60-minute, it ran up and was very strong today, coming up to almost close this gap here on 1780. I'd call that pretty much a gap close at this point. But a big run up, stalling sideways, but still, from a daily standpoint, up over that channel we were watching. A break of that now, looking for a move back over 1780, take us maybe back to the 1795 move on the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ seen some good movement today. Weekly, right back to the 20-week moving average, but it's still only Thursday. We will see what we get tomorrow. Let's see if we can get up and close above that tomorrow. SPX on a 60-minute doing the same thing, breaking the 20, the overhead, the channel, and the 50. Sound like the slap chop guy. So moving up ever so slightly towards the end of the day. Had a good push on this one big candle here. This was really basically that three-wave. Then we just kind of wandered our way upwards from there. Back to the 1080 mark. Over 1075 was your play to the upside. For those of you that took profits at the end of the day, 3 points, I don't know. It's up to you. It's still profit. I can't be complaining about that. My target overall is this 1085 mark. If you held overnight, this is where I would be watching to take profits on the SPX. If we can reach this 1085 area, I'd be looking to take some profits there, or at least move off your stops and be very careful at that point. Above that, I think we could make 1095, 1100. I would say 1100 to 1105 at that point if we can get up and over that area. So that should be very strong overhead resistance the first time we get there. SPX on a daily, you can see us break up and through this channel. So it was holding below, but that move today really helps the bulls. So the bears have maybe a day to get this back down. I would like to see a confirmation candle by the bulls to prove that this is for real. But once again, overhead levels are 1085. Then ultimately you can look at 1095 if you'd like, and then 1100 with the 20 here. At 1095, that might also cause some problems after we get past 1085. But we got to clear that 1085 area first. So once again, if you're long all day and you're holding overnight, be careful at 1085. SPX on a weekly, Thursday, not yet above the 20-week moving average, nor are we back up to this overhead resistance. So we've got a day left to see if we can make a difference here and start to maybe turn this thing around for the bulls and push back up towards that upper resistance. The VIX on a daily looking very, very sharp here, turning hard here. Look at the VIX, or look at the MACD on this. Look at that thing turn very hard. So we'll see if this thing continues to pull back. If you're In options right now, you're getting some volatility sucked out of you. But still, you can see as the markets move up, the fear comes out of the markets. This is just the way it works. We'll see how far down this gets. We got 1 day left. We'll see how far that VIX gets, or if any fear comes back into the markets. This looks like just kind of a pullback right now. This isn't anything to be too concerned about if you're short or if you're an options buyer. We're just pulling back ever so slightly into these levels here. So the fear ran up hard last 2 weeks, but it's not coming out all that fast. It's still there. It's not a lot of fear, but it's still evident in the markets. Apple on a 60-minute. I think my pick was up and over 197 for a day trade, and that would have been taking you back close to that 200 mark. Let's see how close I was. 25 cents away from the 200 mark. So I had that one picked here. Closing this gap off, so that's now complete. Next entry would be above 200. 200 back to about 202, and then after 202 back to 204 if you're going to continue to day trade this. So that was moneymaker today. If you guys took that entry above 197, you should have made at least a buck and a half on that by the end of the day. Here you see it on a daily, not much to talk about, still choppy. Same thing on a weekly, coming back to the 20-week moving average, but holding this area. That's what we want to see. We want to see it hold on as long as it can to that particular area right there. Once it breaks below that, it could get ugly for Apple. BA also up today, a buck, and you can see it on a daily more clearly, getting back up and above the 20-day moving average, holding on to this nice. I'd still like to see it above 62 or below 57 for my entries. So not much for me to be playing this week on that. Baidu still moving to the upside. We had that huge gap. I said you could probably play this up and above the 480, whatever it was, one area, or 482 area, but not for me. It was a $5 move, so it's not a bad move, but this is chasing it at this point for me, so I'm just going to wait and let it do what Baidu's going to do and play other stuff. From a weekly standpoint, up to new highs. That's very strong for Baidu, looking good on the weekly. I'm sure that'll finish somewhere up there by the end of tomorrow. Dell looking very nice. Looking for a break over 14 bucks, still looking for a break over 14 bucks on both the 60-minute and the daily. If you've been holding this since 1350, which is my recommendation from the beginning of the week, you are doing well. We're almost 50 cents into this trade. It's looking really strong. Starting to break these overhead moving averages. Any push up and over 14 is still a good entry to the long side. I really think we can see 1425 and maybe even 1450. We get a hard move tomorrow. We might even see that tomorrow. That'd be a huge move, I know, but that would be a nice pickup in Dell. I would expect maybe a 20-cent move again tomorrow. But we'll see. We'll see if we can get to this 1425 area. So if you're holding long from 1350, hang on. Give it one more day. See where we finish the week out. FAS going nowhere, up 54 cents. Sloppy, sideways, choppy action. Still below overhead resistance. FAZ slowly chopping its way down. On a daily, still in between this trading range here. Up over 22, below 20. Those are my picks. Nothing happened today. Terrible ones to be watching today. There were so many other good things going on. Home Depot on a 60-minute. Love that we saw it come back up again. We tried this last week, up over 28.50, didn't work. Tried it again this week, up over 28.50, got it. We got in, we're making money. I love how this looks right now. Looking for a break of 29, could very well come tomorrow. Watch it closely. A break over 29, I think, takes us back towards this 29.40 to 29.50 area. That would be my first area to look for profits. But if we get up over 29.50, this thing could really carry quite a way. So a good trade for those of you that got in at 28.50. That's it for today's video. So we finally, after these 2 doji days, and let's just go right to the SPY because that actually shows the dojis. On a daily, I should have went to a daily. We finally got some move today in the markets anyway. And nice that we could finally play something instead of just the sideways chop that was just useless. So we're seeing a little bit of a move here. If this continues upwards, I do not see why we can't hit this 20 period moving average, which is right back up near what? Yes, 1100. 1100 to 1105. So be watching this tomorrow. If you're not in yet, you want to wait for a break of 1085, then look at 1095, then 1100 to 1105. So there's still a lot of overhead resistance to get over, but there are opportunities. Watch it closely into tomorrow. Keep your eyes on the marks I've given you, and be careful with your trading, and be careful about holding over the weekend. Remember, it's a 3-day weekend. So we don't get back to work until Tuesday. Anything can happen over the weekend. So be careful holding over the weekend, and we'll see you again tomorrow night for the weekly wrap-up.